Maximus Analysis here from March 31st, 2016, and we start with the ES Daily, and we see we have a small, almost indecision day, but it was ping-ponging between the levels that I posted, at least for intraday time frame that I post on Twitter. Again, and you could see its timestamp, so you're not like this dude is telling me something after the fact that I posted 2059.50 and $48 level. I think the one below that is 2036. But again, it just went in between those. For the higher time frames, it looks good. But for the aggressive ones, that could have definitely played out pretty well. So this is a 60-day, and it pretty much tapped that and came right back down there as well. With that being said, we just want to have this 2014. Again, that's pretty much the level that just needs to hold hold a lot this week. That brings us back close to the 200-day moving average. So we'll see where they close it or which way they break, because this is still a very sideways type of a day. So that, again, they could pop up for more and we'll just adjust things. But again, the bearish trend line that we have on the daily is still intact. Again, we still have to look at the weekly and say, okay, you see the volume is kind of decreasing. Okay, so we see that at the end of the move. Be cautious going aggressively long, and also look at the VIX. And let me see if I know the symbol. It's the VIX is the volatility index, and some people might say like, oh, that can stay pinned all the time. I get it, but it can give you a basis of where you should be buying. So now we're getting to a very low place. And it could stay there again, and that's why I say if you're going to go long, use the aggressive time frames, because that will get you, if you're in and it drifts up, you're in the long, but at least you're not trying to take or chase, and the intraday time frame will give you some type of better entry than you're trying to trade a breakout and it just continue going. So you want to participate, but you don't want to take as much risk as if you had to put your stop below a pivot. Now, again, let's look at the the NQ on the daily time frame. So we're still bucking our head against this previous support. Small body indecision days. So let's see, they need to hold, at least on the intraday time frame, would be the 44.36 level. And let's look at an hourly on the NQ to kind of give it some type of perspective. So 44.36 is around these highs, okay, around these highs right around here. Not perfect, but again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I would like to see them at least stay above that if you're looking at a higher time frame. And of course, on the daily time frame, you want to see the 43.8950 level hold. We want to see them hold these lows and hold this 200-day moving average if they're going to continue with some type of uptrend. Okay, again, also holding these highs that we have previously here. Now let's look at the YM, and again, that doesn't really give us much. Again, we want them to hold the 17,250 area and of course 17,000. Now crude, it's kind of like in a no man's land, because we're saying we want to hold this area right here, right? So we want to hold these previous highs, and it's layering right there. So we want this 3750 level to hold, right? We also want the 3680 area to hold. Now, if they break 36, then they should probably come back and test. They might come test the lows, but right here would be the level that I would really be looking for them to kind of test, which would be $35, $34. Now, if they do it with some type of momentum, then they can come back to test these lows, but we need them to hold above these levels, and we want to see if they're going to layer at this high versus and go up for more highs and try to take out this 200-day moving average, or they're going to break below. So again, indecision day means we kind of look at both type of scenarios, and that is fine. Now let's look at some equity names, and let's start with Tesla on the daily. And you can see Tesla, oops, excuse me, this is not Tesla. Okay, Tesla was up as much as $7, I think, today, and ended up fading back below at almost closing at $3. Now I know they have their Model 3 that they're coming out to debut tonight, so kind of don't know where it's going to go, but I tell you this, we still want them to hold this 215 area, and that is just basically looking at the weekly time frame for Tesla to say, okay, let's hold these lows because we don't want to get back below this and create some type of pivot. So we'll see what happens tomorrow if they gap up or gap down. Again, usually it's sell the news, but again, if you're in, you're in, and it could go either way. Again, a break above this area would position this as a flag, but with this indecision day at the 200-day moving average, at having an overnight event, that's we just got to see where they open it up. So let's look at Google on the daily, and the daily it gave a little break of a previous day, yesterday's low, sloppy pattern. And it's still the 756 area is still coming into play that we want them to hold above that for this week. But let's look at the weekly on Google just to kind of make sure we're looking at the bigger picture. So the bigger picture, when we kind of break it down, is that we have some type of lowering volume. Now this candle happened in a week, and this is the February 1st candle for Google. We have not gotten to the top of this 1 week in 8 weeks. So that's showing less strength than anything. So decreasing volume, again, it could break the highs, but it's something to consider that it flushed down. This was not a gap. If you look on it, it was a slight gap up and then they flushed it down. But they have been grinding, which has been a horrible looking pattern for, I think, Facebook and for Google. But just keep that in mind, again, if you're going to go long aggressive time frames because of this, because they're already 8 weeks up, and to break a low with lower volume of a previous week would not be hard. So just be aware of both sides of the fence. Price line ended up being down almost $30 today, giving what some would consider an evening star type of pattern. Very, it's now starting to grind sideways. So now you're getting this grind, a lower high from here, this gap. So let's see where they follow through. If you are a bull for this, you want to see them hold this 1278 to 1265 area. Okay. Last but not least, we will look at, and again, also, for the weekly for price line still is not tremendously bearish. So just be very careful, again, use aggressive time frame for both sides, going long and short, because the weekly is not telling you that much. And they've broken one, not two back, so that could continue because they could easily run this back up to go for these highs. So play it accordingly. Facebook, last but not least, gave a slight sell signal. We have this dark cloud cover that we see right here. It didn't follow through that much, but they're continuing to come close and test this level that they tested last time, which is 116.21. Now let's look at the weekly time frame again, because that is, so we want to see them close near the high for here. We basically got almost the same type of scenario we spoke about with Google, that you have one bar down and then you have 8 bars up, declining volume, coming back and not breaking above this high. So even if they broke above this high, that's a lot of weeks to just grind sideways. And it was one bar and then just and didn't clear this high in 8 weeks. Just be a little, aware of what's going on. Facebook has probably had one of the uglier patterns here, breaking, and it's still kind of, I guess, okay. But again, a break and get to 110 would say, okay, let's see what happens tomorrow. So unless we have something, again, it's weekly option expiration, so we never know if they're just going to lull it to sleep. But let's see what the overnight action does, and we'll go from there. Take care.